No One Likes Us Clothing is the Millwall clothing range. T-shirts, caps, polos, they've got it all. Visit www.noonelikes.us.co.uk, or why not visit the Blue Anchor, where a selection of shirts can be bought at the bar. www.noonelikes.us.co.uk.
You're listening to AchtungMillwall, broadcasting from the beautiful South Bermondsey. Accept no substitute.
Hello, dear listeners. Welcome to our regular Friday show. Something for the weekend, sir, with my co-confederates, Mr. Neil Fissler. Welcome to the show, Neil.
Hello, Nick. How you going, mates?
I'm okay. It's been a funny old week at the Den, Neil, isn't it? It's been a funny week generally, and Wednesday night's performance was disconcerting. I was there. I imagine that you watched it on screen, but it was... I mean, my first point on our little agenda here is Gary Rowett tottering after that awful home defeat to QPR. It was a shocker.
It was a shocker, and I think it's indicative of the way things have been going this season, isn't it? It's difficult to know because you look at the stats and we're a point better off than last season, or a point worse off than last season.
I saw that post. I think that was was it Phil Clark, or was it? I think
it was Phil Clark. Yeah.
We posted that we're actually 1 point better off at the same point in this season compared with last season, listeners. And that's probably true. I mean, one thing I think that Gary Rowett has proven, Neil, over his 3 years now, nearly, of time at the Den, is he has an ability to find a result when he needs it most. And, you know, I think he does need it most tomorrow, at home to Blackpool, Saturday tomorrow. But he's been through some pretty bad phases, and I think that the thing that's bothering me is that John Barrelson has actually invested in this squad. I know that we've lost Jed Wallace, and that was, to some extent beyond anyone's control because Jed's decision was involved there. But we have invested in the side. There are some good players in that squad, and. You know, I'm just reading on News at Den that Rowett is saying he's got to find, he's got to look at his tactics and his formation. Well, yeah, because that's the bit he can control, and we've got good players, so there's no need for us to be playing like we are at the moment with such pale attitudes to the game. I mean, that was what struck me Wednesday. It was that the players didn't seem to be trying almost at times. It was awful.
Unfortunately, Gary Rowett comes out with the same nonsense week in, week out, doesn't he? Every time we don't play well, he's got to look at the formation. Then the next game, he'll stick with his trusty 5 at the back. His 2 holding midfielders, square pegs for round holes. He'll play 2 of our most promising new signings. Well, we were just talking about him because I'm updating the who's who. Vogelslammer. He stuck him out wide. Yeah, we would have thought that play him alongside Tom Bradshaw, and there'll be a bit of a handful. Put Fleming in behind them in the role that he favours, I believe, isn't it?
I believe so in Holland, yeah. I mean, he's got a good record out there, isn't he? Yeah.
Yeah, no, well, I was looking at his scoring record yesterday. He scored over 10 goals, I think, for each of the last 3 or 4 seasons. He isn't going to do that here because he's stuck out wide. It's just a typical Rowett ball talk, speak, nonsense. After every time we have a bad performance and people start booing, I think Rowett has got probably the most talented squad we've had in quite a while.
Agree, yeah.
And this isn't a bad squad. It is just a manager who has bought a fair few of these players in to fit in the system that he wants to play. And he can't get them playing it because he makes silly alterations. I'll give you some advice, Gary. Yeah?
He listens.
Formation, mate. Yeah, seriously. Stop this nonsense of 5 at the back. Yeah, and your ridiculous substitutions. And it's all self-inflicted, this. And it's being self-inflicted by a manager who's very lucky that we've probably got the most patient chairman in the Football League, because he doesn't sack people lightly.
No, he doesn't. No, we don't as a club sack lightly, do we?
Yeah, but you look at Danny Schofield the other day.
Yeah.
6 or 8 games as a Huddersfield manager, gets sacked.
Yep.
Yeah. But sometimes I think that you're right in your intro. Rowett produces his best sides when he's got his back against the wall, when there's a bit of pressure on, there's a bit of heat. And the 52 languages of nonsense that he comes out with isn't working.
Anyone that wasn't there on Wednesday night, listen to the live show that I did. His back is up against the wall because there was a very, very strong, I wouldn't even call it an undercurrent, it was an overcurrent of dissent against Gary on Wednesday night. I don't like that personally, Neil. I think the Millwall is a club that at its best has that unity between manager, players, club and the fans. That's the ideal that we should all be aiming for. But he's got to change. What was happening on Wednesday cannot continue, because we're going to be involved in a relegation struggle if that's how it continues. There was just no fight or spark or vim or whatever word you want to use on Wednesday. He does seem to be listening. I'm just looking at the News at Den interview that's put out. He says, this is Gary Rowett, Neil. For me, I'm certainly ready to step up with what I'm doing, and the players have got to be ready to push forward and show that quality. Because same point, actually, I believe we've got more quality than we've shown.
Change your bloody formation then. Where they're at the strongest, you absolute muppet. Yeah, sorry. I'm trying not to rant here, but it's very difficult. He just comes out with the same nonsense week in, week out. His club has backed him. So now
it has, yeah. The fans have backed him, Neil. I mean, there's been moments where, outright dissent has broken out. Everyone that listened to our show at Peterborough, I think it was last season, will have heard that. But for the most part, everyone's got back in line when the results have got back into some kind of shape. What hasn't happened for a long time is, and I think I said this the other night, is we haven't ripped into anyone. We haven't really imposed ourselves on a game for a long while. I'm trying to think when we last did actually produce what I think of, what you think of, and what the listeners will think of as a Millwall performance, where the den's on fire, we go at it, and tear someone to pieces. That doesn't seem... Stoke, yeah. I mean, I don't want to be pernickety. Yeah, Stoke. All right, we'll go with that. That's probably the best for a bit. I think that was largely Stoke's incompetence, because they were awful. I think they sacked their manager shortly after that. On the subject we're talking about. But it's been a long period of what I would think of as fairly good results. We finished in the. I can't remember. We finished last season in the top 10, wasn't it? So, and we're on for a playoff shot on the last day. So you can't argue with that. And I just wonder sometimes whether we're over expecting. Is there too much expectation then, given the resources? But I'm told to expect entertainment, Neil, aren't we?
Yeah, funnily enough, I mentioned that pre-season. I think that we need to manage our expectations. This is a very difficult league because of the money that people are willing to spend and invest and waste. We aren't in that league, so we have to get everything spot on. But I think the last few seasons have raised our expectations of what Millwall can achieve.
Yeah, agree. Yeah.
When you're in and around the playoffs for most of the season, which I think we have been for the last 2 or 3 years, haven't we? Certainly.
Yeah, we've been in the game. Yeah.
We've been there or thereabouts, and you bring in players, you spend, for us, huge sums of money.
Yeah.
2.5 million euros. Yeah, well, we call it 2.5 million euros because it sounds a lot better than £6.7 million.
Also implies we're dealing in the European market as well, which is exotic and not normal.
A great player. He shows tremendous glimpses.
Yes, he does.
What he can do. He's not afraid to have a pop.
No, I take my hat off to that. Yeah, ambition.
But despite some of the online experts who have already branded him and Vogelslammer as our worst 2 signings ever.
Yeah, those kinds of posters haven't been around for very long. If they think that seriously, I agree. Fleming is a talented boy, and he's not been really given full. He hit the crossbar. He was unlucky on Wednesday because that was a good shot on goal, and an inch lower and it would have gone in.
I think he's hit the bar 2 or 3 times in games with shots from in and around the box. I think he needs one. I think that when he gets one, a couple will, 1 or 2 more will follow very quickly. But he's got to play him in his best position. It's no good signing these players as attacking midfielders and then decide to stick him out wide. Change your formation, Gary. I think what doesn't help Rowett, and I've said it time and time and time again, they need to employ a coach with some attacking nous. I
agree. Yeah, we looked like we could have played all night the other night, Neil. Everyone's been saying it. There's nothing new in that.
Yeah,
we could have played on. If you give us 20 added minutes, we wouldn't have got anywhere close to the goal. It was that kind of.
Yeah, we could have been stood in line for all of those looking to look at Lizzie's coffin, and we still wouldn't have scored by the time we got to the front next bloody next Monday,
next night. Yeah.
But he needs some attacking nous in that coaching setup. You have a look at it. He was a defender. Paul Robinson, the Birmingham Paul Robinson, was a fullback. Adam Barrett was a central defender. Yep. There's no attacking nous on there. And somebody must surely be saying to him, hold on a minute, this formation's not working. Don't come out in a press conference and tell them what you think they want to hear, because obviously he might have been briefed what to say. Yeah. About it. He says, at some point we might, I think, didn't he say after the last game, we might have to look at formations at some point?
Well, he's having to look at himself. I mean, I'm not being, it must be difficult, Neil. I mean, but then it's his job to say stuff in press conferences after a game. I'm just trying to put myself in his shoes after a difficult evening. What are you going to say that's going to sound new and fresh for the press? But that's part of the job of being a football manager nowadays. So he does tend to come out with cliches, media cliches a little bit. And he's mentioned the fact he needs to look at himself, fair enough, and the players need to look at themselves, which I think is true. I mean, to some extent, I said this in the other show, that I don't know if you'd agree, Neil, but to some extent, you can play whatever formation you like. If players don't give it their all or are unable to perhaps to play in those roles that you're asking them to, then if they don't bring their A game, put it that way, then he's in a difficult position, isn't he? Whatever formation you play in, they're all variations of the theme in the end. But if you don't bring your A game, then you're going to struggle.
I would agree that we've got players playing well below themselves. You can normally carry 1 or 2 players playing badly, but you can't carry 6 or 7, 8 players playing badly, and that's what's happening for us. But I go back to the original point. He's not playing players in their strongest positions. He signed players to do certain things, and he's not doing it. It's square pegs for round holes, as we've said a couple of times this morning. And he has to figure that out. The penny has to drop with him. And it doesn't drop. You look at the game. What was the game we played the other week? And it was obvious the formation wasn't working. And then he changed it and it worked.
Yeah, we went for 4 at the back. Which was that? It was one of the wins, wasn't it? It was would it have been Coventry with it? I don't know. I can't remember which one it was, but he went to 4. I think Danny Mack was playing in that game, and we got the ball forward more quickly with more zip, and it worked. He seems wedded to this 3 at the back. I don't quite get the stubbornness on that. The only thing I can say on that front he seems to be glued to an idea that that's how the big teams play. That's how success is won at the top levels, European levels, and that's how we ought to play. Therefore, but I don't think it quite works for us. One thing that doesn't happen under his stewardship generally, and I don't particularly want it to be a Gary Rowett knockfest, but the biggest weapon Millwall have is the den. Neil, is the crowd. Bring them into play. Get them on the backs of the opposition and in favour of the Mill side. And the style we're playing doesn't do that enough. You're kind of wasting your biggest single asset. And whether he understands that or whether he trusts that, I don't know. But that's something that ought to change, has to change. Otherwise, we're going to struggle.
Young children listening, cover your ears now.
Cover your ears. Put the dogs and cats away and close the stable door for the horses.
Fuck Pep Guardiola. This is Millwall. Okay, yeah, we can now
let the horses out now. Yeah, we can say that. No, I'm with you. I know what you mean.
We have got a weapon of the den, but let's not make too many bones about it. We're boring to watch. Yeah. No, I agree. I didn't watch the Cardiff game because my son saw my son for the day.
Yeah.
And he was down here for the weekend, and we went and watched a local game. And to be honest, I didn't miss it.
No.
I did not miss it because we're not playing a type of football at the moment that makes you really want to go or even to watch us. Yeah, you watch us out of loyalty rather than because you want to.
Yeah,
yeah, and out of habit, and that's a bad thing. Our crowds are appalling as it is. It's just so frustrating that he isn't producing Millwall teams that you want to watch. And
no, I'd agree with that. I'd agree with that, Neil. And I understand what you've just said. As listeners will know, we do the non-league shows. The football is not I say the football's not that great. It's our football on Wednesday night wasn't that great, to be honest. I think I said to Michael yesterday, we went to watch Erith and Belvedere at Parkview Road, Welling, and you can sit with a beer in those games, but you can sit. It's enjoyable. It's a nice afternoon. You're actually enjoying being at the football. No pressure, because obviously you don't really care about the result, so that takes away that. But the essence of going to watch Millwall is that it's as much a social event with hopefully some entertainment thrown into the mix, but we're not getting much in the way of entertainment. That is for sure.
I went and watched a non-league game with my son. We pitched up. You could park. Yeah, we could actually park
at the ground. Yeah.
We could park on the touchline. It was unbelievable stuff. It was a £5 to get in.
Yeah.
We saw a lino in special shoes. It was about 30 yards behind play when we put the flag up. We saw a referee lose control of a game and send off 2 players in injury time. We saw some agricultural challenges, to say the least. And it was just a great afternoon out. It was just great to not.
It's refreshing. It's refreshing.
Yeah. It was great to not care what was going on. We saw the son of a legend play at the back. He looked like a bulked up steroid head. We saw McGrath's son play for one of the teams.
Okay.
And you walked out, or you drove out in this case, happy and smiling. And you just don't get that sense when you're watching Millwall a lot of the time under Gary Rowett.
That's the thing. As I was walking out the ground on Wednesday, walking along Ilderton Road, going back to the car, I was thinking that there's a Brian Clough quote. I think it was Brian Clough, but others have borrowed it since, about the first job you do when you take over a club is get everyone to play with a smile on your face. Even Ian Holloway might have said it, I think. Not many smiles on the faces of the players. They don't seem particularly happy. They must know the system doesn't work. I don't know how. I don't know enough about Gary Rowett personality-wise. Know how he is as a manager, and he's always managers are not there to be popular, are they? They're there to choose a side. They're going to make someone unhappy. So, but you generally want people to be carried along with you. That's the starting point of management in any walk of life.
Yeah, and Millwall do have that amazing ability, and it's happened a couple of times this season where you've enjoyed watching us. I think the Stoke game was smiling for a couple of days.
Yeah, no, everyone was buzzed after it. Yeah, that's yeah.
You do. And you smile for a couple of days afterwards. Life feels good.
Your weekend is good. Yeah.
Shining like it is now.
No.
You kind of feel that life is good, but you're not getting that at the minute with Millwall. Oh, Christ. Yeah, no, it's another Millwall game.
No, you grind your teeth. I'm going to go down there tomorrow. I think it's that sense of loyalty. I don't know where else I'd go, but I suppose you could go to watch local games, but it's you don't care about it in the same way. You can't not go. So I shall be there tomorrow, dear listeners. One thing I do want to say before we move away from the 2-0 loss in the week now, I just wanted to really take my hat off. Others have done it already. It's been done online. What a version of the national anthem was performed before the very well performed ceremony before the game. Jay Britton, wife of Danny O'Callaghan, a scorching version of the national anthem, sung without any backing, a cappella, I think it's called. And it was a spine tingler. Really, really well done.
Nick, knowing that, knowing what that's called, not the Millwall I know, mate.
A cappella.
Yeah, no, mate. It was occasions very well. In all seriousness, yeah, they do remembrance very well. They do a lot of things, and getting Jay to sing the national anthem, Christ, it was emotional.
Yeah, very good. Really, really good.
Summed up the mood of the nation. Actually, it summed up the mood how we felt after the game, really. A bit somber.
Yeah, I thought it might. I mean, the pre-match ceremonials were great. I mean, and you know, I wonder whether it might take some of the atmosphere away from the game. And maybe to some extent it did at the start, but once the game started, we got into the Millwall that we, for better or for worse, the Millwall. But I thought as a starting point, that was a moment that the club we should have latched onto that. The players should have latched onto that and got the crowd into it because they wanted to get behind Millwall. It all went a bit to waste. But I just wanted to take my hat off to Jay because that was a scorching version of the anthem. Well done.
It couldn't have been easy either.
No.
You're suddenly performing in a football stadium. I don't know if Jay supports Millwall or if she even cares about football.
Yeah,
I congratulated her on Twitter, and
rightly so. Yeah,
but it was absolutely fantastic. And I've got to be honest, I think the national anthem has been amazingly well sung and received at most sporting events.
I agree.
In the last week. Yeah, the only thing is you've got to remember what the bloody words are, haven't you? Ken and send him or his.
Yeah, that would take some getting used to. After 70 years of God Save the Queen, it's now become God Save the King. And as you say, the gender changes. That will take some getting used to. I don't think it's unforgivable to sing the Queen if you mispronounce it, but she did a real job the other night. And I think you're right. I mean, whatever people's politics are out there, the role of the national anthem and the flag is to unify. That's what it's all about. It's to remind you who we are, and it's been done really well in this recent period because it's a time for coming together without getting too kumbaya-ish on a Millwall podcast, Neil. But no, I just wanted to acknowledge that. I thought it was a really, really strong performance, and to sing it live with no room for error. You can't hit one bad note, and she didn't. So well done, Jay Britton. Good name actually for a singer in that circumstance.
Achtung, Millwall.
I just caught my eye now, and actually the two things caught my eye. One, it's just been announced that Charlie Cresswell, our Leeds Lone Star, has been named in the England under-21 party. There must be internationals forthcoming soon fact, there's an international break next week. So he's been named in the England under-21 squad. And that tied in quite neatly with a story on News at Den where Gary Rowett was mentioning the possibility that with a loan deal, they can go back to their parent club. And, the question was arising, will he go back in January? Because a lot of Leeds fans weren't best pleased that he left them in the first place, especially if he's getting international honours. So we've got to keep half an eye on that, because it's easy to forget the likes of Jamie Shackleton and Charlie Cresswell aren't our players, are they?
Well, I think Shackleton's slightly different because we've got an option to buy on Shackleton, haven't we?
Okay.
So I think he's slightly different. I'm not sure on the Cresswell deal. Sometimes it does have written into these loan deals that they can be recalled. But typical Gary Rowett, just come out and say he is going to know if there's a recall clause in the contract.
Yeah.
But to come out and say I'm not sure, it just spanks of stupidity. Just come out and say, yes, there's a recall clause in his contract. We could lose him in January. Yeah,
which I would imagine Leeds have loaned him to us to improve, and if he has improved and he's clearly to a level where he's being named in the national side, then they may think that we could use him in our Premier League season.
Yeah,
so we'll see. I mean, there's not much we can do about it.
I think a lot of it will depend on where Leeds are. He's an England under-20 international, so the step up to under-21's debatable whether or not. Somebody described him, I think, News at Den, as our most influential player this season. I wouldn't agree with that.
No, I wouldn't go that far. He's done well. He's made some errors.
Yeah, the guy that writes News at Den, he's full of flowery nonsense. Quite honest. Yeah.
Maybe he's after Poet Laureate now that there's a new boss in town.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't go that far. I think he's made a lot of mistakes. And to be honest, if I was Leeds, I'd be looking at him thinking, I think you probably need to be there for the rest of the season, old son. Yeah?
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. I don't think, by no means has that been our most influential. He's done well and he's scored goals. That's good.
Well, at times, but sometimes he's looked an absolute liability.
He gave the ball badly away at Sheffield United, which I think gave them the killer goal. And that was, that's not good either. So, there's a balance here, isn't there?
Yeah, but he tries to Hollywood pass too often, doesn't he?
That's a good new word. I like that. Hollywood pass. I like that.
Yeah, but he carries the ball out like Johan Cruyff. And forgetting that he's a bloody central defender. Just put your foot through it, Charlie.
Absolutely.
We do not expect our central defenders to be carrying the ball out of central defence. Yeah, our defenders clear it.
Or do a long diagonal ball over the top into nobody. That's the other thing we like our defenders to do.
To me, is a bit of a non-story, actually. I think I think they've asked a question to see what the response is. Rowett could have killed it dead by saying, no, there's no recall clause. Yeah. But what's going to...
Yes, there is. Yeah.
Yeah. But what's going to happen now is, you know what Millwall fans are like. They'll just revert and they'll worry. Yeah, well, I'm in the journalistic industry. I know what it's all about. Yeah, he could have killed the story stone dead, or he could have taken away all cause by just saying, yeah, there is a recall clause. No, there isn't a recall clause. Yeah,
there we are. That's the News at Den's story. I just want to mention before we move on to the under-21 squad, I just want to mention Ryan Sanford, who's our lone goalkeeper who's playing at Weymouth at the weekend, made a fantastic penalty save in that'd be National League football down there. So well done, Ryan Sanford. It was a really strong save. He seems to have been around forever and a day, Ryan Sanford's loaned out now to Weymouth. It must be a difficult, you must be starting to think to yourself, will I ever make it at the Den, or am I better off looking for a permanent move? It may be a precursor to that, I don't know, but he did very well. Just want to say well done. There is footage of it on social media.
Yeah, viral tweet, something that I know all about after last week, I must admit.
What's that then, Neil?
Seamless. How seamless of
How seamless. There was an online kerfuffle, listeners, over Neil posted a while back. In fact, I can tell you when it was because I've got the thing here. Give me a second. It was on the 8th of September, Neil. He posted that image of the Princess Elizabeth at the 1945 Football League, known as the War Cup South Cup final, in which the Millwall lost to Chelsea 2. And Princess Elizabeth and King George VI were in attendance. Also, the Queen Mother was there as well. I saw in the photograph. And that got borrowed word for word.
It did.
You need to copyright them, Neil, in the future. You get some money out of it.
Yeah, no, I must admit. And somebody tried saying that I stole it off. Yeah, well, yeah, well, fair play to H. He sat them right. Yeah, he sat them straight.
He did. Yeah.
But well, in all seriousness, I'm not trying to blow my own trumpet or anything, believe it or not. But if anybody does want to listen to that podcast, we did a podcast about.
We did that in May at the start of the summertime. We did a series of.
That tweet was done out of knowledge, and certainly the person that claimed it has definitely got no knowledge at all. Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, this is the thing. I mean, Neil was written on Mill history and other subjects too. A journalist, as he said. I'm an amateur. I mean, I just take the time to have a look on various websites. I subscribe, so I enjoy it. Kind of bloke that I am. I've subscribed to the newspaper archive, which is a valuable source of information. You can find this stuff out. History doesn't belong to anyone; it belongs to everyone. So there is no, if you take the time, you too out there can also publish, if you want to, stuff, and you're just repeating facts, and those facts are well documented if you take the time and trouble and the research, Neil, that you do to find it. It's there. So I don't want to give the impression that it belongs. There's one source of information that's the be all and end all, but you can't go taking other people's work word for word and repackage it as though you've come up with it. I think that's low rent, personally.
It's pretty poor form, but hey, it's just one of those things, isn't it?
Visit No One Likes Us clothing for all your Millwall clobber. www.noonelikesus.co.uk.
Let's move along. Let's talk about the under-21 squad. I'm just looking at the Millwall app results for the Millwall under-21 squad. Going really, really well at the moment, Neil. 4-1 win.
Yeah, I think we're unbeaten this season, aren't we? Or we lost one game this season. I forget what it is now. But, yeah.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, but it seems to be almost a parallel universe from the first team, doesn't it?
Well, just look at these results. 4-1 over the Watford under-21 side. This was last Tuesday the 13th. We beat Coventry City 3-2 at their place. We put 5 past Peterborough. 4-1 win at Birmingham. 4-0 over Barnsley. And 1-0 win at Hull City. And I think we're top of the table. What's the competition called? It's like a Premier League under-21 division or something.
Yeah, but I think it's the Premier League under-23 development.
Something like that. But to be top of it and to be putting 4 past Watford, who you'd think would be a decent side.
It must be having sleepless nights over the under-20.
We're top of the table. Yeah. In fact, we played 18 points. That's 100% record so far.
Well, in all seriousness, you have a look at those squads and you'd probably be hard pressed to know a first team player in them. I know occasionally they do pop up in those. I think George Evans might have been on the bench a couple of times. There's certainly some players of promise and players that our strikers have scored 1 goal all season, and that was Mr. Afobe the other week.
Yeah.
And you've got young Abdul Malik, who is banging them in for fun at the under-23 level. So you would hope at some point that the manager might integrate him into the first team, just to, much the same way as did with Zach Lovelace, I think, last year, just to give him, if only to act as a bit of an incentive, take him to a couple of away games have him as the
in and around the squad is the expression, isn't it?
Just to show him what it's all about and to act as an incentive to carry on. But at Millwall, we have this problem where, I think we've seen with Isaac Alofag, we actually wait almost too long, don't we? In some,
I think there's this very professional football managers thing of you don't put the kids in too quickly and too early, but you should feed them in. And I agree, having them around the first team, have them on the bench, give them some minutes at that level. I don't think it hurts. And given that they're scoring so free, I'm just going to read out the team. This is the 4-1 win over Watford, Neil, which was played last week. I don't know some of the first names, so I'm going to apologise in advance to the players, but I think it's worth name checking them because they are a successful side at the moment. So we've got goalkeeper Gilmore, Smith, Adon, Malaki, Muller, Penny, Okoli, Allen, Lawson. SA came on for him in the 65th. Leahy, replaced by Nana Boateng. Abdul Malik and Drozd. I might try and get along to a game, and if you fancy it too, listeners, do, because we're playing Charlton at the Den. That'll be a 1 o'clock kickoff on the Tuesday, the 20th of September. I might not be able to make that one, but I think we've got Bristol and the next one after that, and it'd be worth getting along if you've got some free time on an afternoon just to get along to watch them, because I think they deserve some support, Neil, the way they're going.
Yeah, do you know what? It always used to be one of the great things about being in London and working from home, or because I've worked from home for donkey's years, that you could actually go along and watch reserve games in the afternoon. And especially in the football combination days. And
those are old days. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, no, well, it is good. Yeah, but it is. Yeah, well, I think they only charge a couple of quid to get in, and you can always go and get
the fiver. Yeah.
You can always go and get a sandwich or something from the bloody Millwall Cafe and take it in there. I've done that once or twice, and it's good to watch these players. And you often get old out there, so you can always part some of your thoughts on Mr. Rowett if he's there.
20th of September, we're playing Charlton at the Den, under-21s in the Premier Development League, 1 o'clock kickoff.
First team level, so we might as well outclass them at the under-23 level, haven't we?
Yeah, a rare thing. Go to the Den and enjoy yourself, and maybe see some goals and attacking football. Try it out. Let's give it a go.
Hashtag
enjoy yourself. Neil, just to close the show, I've found a result from. We haven't done this for a while, but I thought I'd mix it in today just to try and raise the mood a little bit, because we've been on a bit of a downer generally last few days. But I found a result from 1978, notable for two reasons. One, I was there, I was at this game. So 15th of April 1978, Millwall 2, Blackpool 0 in Division 2, played at Coldblow Lane in front of just 5,533 fans, one of whom was me. And this was actually a remarkable run of 6 straight wins to save us from relegation from Division 2 in the 77-78 season. It had been a difficult season. George Petchy was managing us at this stage, and we were in relegation trouble as this run began. It began with this particular win. John Seasman, scorer of the goals, and Brian Hamilton. Really, really strong finish. It was one of those we needed to get 6 wins, and lo and behold, we got 6 wins and saved us from relegation.
Yeah, well, just one question.
Yeah. Did
you pay or did you have a freebie? Because I've heard there's quite a lot of freeloading going on.
I mean, you could the old ground, you could climb in. I think if you went round it's now an open ground, but you could climb over the fence there, couldn't you, by the dog track?
Yeah, no, you're missing the poor joke I made. Oh no.
I see. Sorry. No, I paid to get in, mate. I paid to get in.
Somebody.
That's a private joke, listeners.
You look at that season, and we were doomed. I think
we were doomed. Yeah, it's the season of the Ipswich quarter-final.
Yeah, it seemed to be downhill really before then. We were. Yeah, we were sinking fast. I listened to a podcast on Queen Victoria's death, and tonight, and they were saying how she sunk fast. I think that we were sinking fast this season, especially after the 6-1 Ipswich game. There were a couple of good results afterwards. I think we drew 3-3 at Tottenham.
33,000. That was in March, but we were in trouble. 21st in the table after a 3-3 draw at White Hart Lane. We had the bizarre, the home game that had to be played at Portsmouth against Bristol Rovers, which I was at, in front of 3,000 fans in Fratton Park. Strange.
Well?
Sorry?
Yeah, did you pay for that one as well?
I paid for them all, mate. Oh dear. 21st we were in the table, whereas we were beaten by Stoke City on the 12th of April. And we were looking doomed. And the club was looking like it was spinning out of control. The FA had banned us from the Den, and crowds were low, and the general vibe of the place was in a bit a very Millwall death spiral. But lo and behold, a miracle was produced, because this win over Blackpool on the 15th of April began a sequence of 6 straight wins that took us from 21st in the table up to finish in 15th position. I never would have expected that we'd finish in 15th with a final win of the season at home to Mansfield. The team that day in the 2-0 win is a good team, actually. Now, I don't know, we got ourselves into a pickle this season, but we had some good players in it. Dave Donaldson, Nicky John's in goal, good goalkeeper. Dave Donaldson, Barry Kitchener, Tony Hazel, John Moore. Phil Walker in midfield, replaced by John Alexander. I wanted to come back to John Alexander in a moment, if I may. Dave Memmett, one of our youth prospects that came through into the side. Brian Hamilton, Peter Allen, and up front, John Seasman and Trevor Lee. That was a good side, actually. I don't know, we got ourselves into a scrape that year, but they also played their way out of it. It was remarkable looking back at it.
It was the end of the Gordon Jago era and the start of the George Petchey era, wasn't it? And
yeah,
she took his time to get us going, and we had 1 or 2 good results under him. Let's not get it. Yeah, but let's not say it was all doom and gloom. The 4-0 against Luton in the cup, then we beat Southampton, then we beat Notts County.
Yeah.
In the FA Cup, and there was even our annual 2 points as it was then over Charlton.
That's right. Yeah, 2 points in those days, listeners. Yeah, not 3 for a win.
It wasn't all doom and gloom, but it in some ways it mirrors what's happening now to a certain extent. We had some very talented players, but they just weren't getting the best out of them. And
no, Petchy struggled. He was actually, when we were relegated, he signed John Lyons, was a great striker for us, and we were in the mix. But somehow we would go off the boil under George Petchy, and he became much maligned as a manager. I always remember the famous graffiti, "Petchy must go." I think it was written round by the Rotherhithe Tunnel, and it became a figure of fun. But you must be careful what you wish for. If you replace George Petchy, don't go and bring in Peter Anderson afterwards, listeners, because that's what we got, and it got even worse. So always be careful what you wish for. Hopefully Gary Rowett's
forgetting with the Lomas and bringing in Hollerwords, wasn't it?
Hollerwords, that's right. Yeah, there we are. We've got a track record of that. Remarkably, we would survive. Blackpool would be relegated in this season. So we began it with the run of a 2-0 win over the Tangerines, and they would finish up in the bottom 3, and we would escape to the comparative safety of 15th position. That's a great lineup. I just wanted to mention John Alexander, Neil, because I'd forgotten his name until I saw it in that. Well, actually, I remember his name every time Liverpool were playing, because, of course, John Alexander, who played for the Lions in the late 70s, is he the grandfather of Trent Alexander-Arnold?
I'm just going to consult my Millwall Who's Who book, which I'm currently rewriting. I believe he is actually the.
John Alexander was a really good midfielder, but he was slightly exotic, listeners, because he was going to university in an era where going to university amongst the, for my family included, the working class support of Millwall certainly, was not something that you did. You know, going to university was for the kids that came.
Uncle of. He was
the uncle. He's the uncle of Trent Alexander-Arnold, listeners. He played 17 games for us, scored twice. He was a cultured midfielder forward, I think, and attacking midfielder. I always enjoyed watching him, but because of his university links, he didn't seem to get many games for us. He played as an amateur, then a professional. How about that?
He was actually, I think he was discovered by Eamon Dunphy, who was coaching the London. I think he was at the London University studying geography or something.
Yeah.
Well, off the top of my head, I put the book away now.
I've got it here. Yeah, geography student John played for British universities. This is from Neil's book, Neil Who's Who. He won representative honours for Merseyside and Lancashire, and signed, as you say, Neil. I didn't know this, on the recommendation of Eamon Dunphy, who's coaching at the London University. I remember him being very an intelligent player. I mean, obviously, he goes with his academical talents as well, but he was a very intelligent player. And for someone that's only played 17 games in 76, 78, 2 goals, I always remember him quite well. Quite an interesting career after the game. He went on to become club secretary at Watford, Tottenham, and Manchester United. I didn't know that.
Yeah, no, he retired as club secretary, whatever he was, at Manchester United, which must go down well with the family, given the animosity between
them and Liverpool. And he's the uncle of Trent Alexander-Arnold of Liverpool fame now, John Alexander. I just wanted to mention him because he's a player I remember well, and he was involved in this 2-0 win for the Lions over Blackpool. The start of a remarkable some things you don't ever forget in your Millwall life, and that was one of them. That sequence of 6 wins.
But you actually have a look at the end of that season, Nick. I think we kept 5 out of 6 clean sheets.
We did.
He did 1 goal, I think, to Sunderland. Yeah, in fact, I don't think I know because I've actually got it on the screen in front of me. So,
1 goal versus Sunderland, the 3-1 win over Sunderland. No, it was one of those. It began, as I remember, I would have been 17 at the time. So it began with a sense of the doomed resignation that we were going to go down, but we'd go down fighting. And gradually, as win on win on win happened, you start to believe that you could amazingly survive. So we beat Blackpool 2-0, 3-1 win we've just mentioned, Neil, over Sunderland. A win at Fulham, which I remember well. That was an Easter weekend, I think. 1-0 win at Craven Cottage, then Luton 1-0, Oldham 2-0, and the final game of the season at home to Mansfield Town was a 1-0 win for the Lions. And we'd saved ourselves, so that wouldn't work out for very long as we got relegated the season after. But there we are. That's Millwall life for you. Blackpool would be relegated in the bottom 3 with Mansfield and Hull City. So there we are. I thought we'd leave our show this week on an upbeat, hopeful note, because that's how we like it at the Den. Fingers crossed for tomorrow now. I think there's a big game looming tomorrow and a big occasion potentially. I'm really hoping the players raise their game and Gary Rowett looks hard at his approach, because we all want the club to succeed, and I actually want Gary Rowett to turn a corner, because I think that we don't sack managers very well, and we can drift a little bit without when we do these things. So fingers crossed for tomorrow.
It's as we said in the group, I think, the other day. You want Gary Rowett to succeed. I desperately want him to succeed, but I'm starting to think, can he succeed? And are we going to attract a manager of better standing? And
there it is. Yeah.
A lot of journeyman managers going around.
It's also expensive, Neil. For a club that let's be upfront, listeners. We don't have an awful lot of money. There's a
contract as well, isn't he? So,
yeah. So there's a balance between the cost of relegation. I think, as Harry put it in one of his voicemails recently, the cost of relegation versus the cost of getting rid of Rowett, as he would put it. I hope it don't come to that. I hope we don't get rid of Gary Rowett. I hope that he turns a corner, the players turn a corner, and that Wednesday night was a wake-up call, because anything less than the A game, as I've said a few times, isn't good enough in this league. Fingers crossed for tomorrow.
thing you've got on the agenda, which you've actually missed off.
What's that?
Could you actually send me the agenda before we come on?
Oh, yeah.
Byron Webster.
Yeah, actually, that's right. Yes, I did. I did send this to Neil as a suggestion. Byron Webster has been named as the replacement for the late Paul Jiggins on the club's Wall Talk podcast. An interesting choice, Neil. I mean, I imagine Byron's got plenty of football-related stories. I'm hoping that he's also got some beneath the kind of maybe the comedic persona. There's a serious man underneath it, because I think the two have to go hand in hand when you're doing podcasting. You want to laugh and you want to be funny, but you also want to have something to say beneath the surface. I think that's the ideal combination. I wish him well on it, don't you?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Byron Webster, a legend for for nothing more than actually riding around London on a Boris bike with a playoff winners medal around his neck. Who can forget that? Now, somebody who took his time to grow into his role at the Den.
He did.
Was actually a player that once he'd grown into that role, I thought he gave us fantastic service.
A member of the playoff winning side of 2017, and a good player for us. Unlucky, I think injury ended his career at the time. He's still playing for Bromley in the National League, so he doesn't see himself as done yet. I imagine that he's trying to think about maybe developing a media profile of some sort, and this might be a good step in the right direction for him. I wish him well. I'm looking forward to hearing what he's got to say. Actually, it's an interesting choice. Wall
Talk was, I know it's a rival, and we don't mind publicising our rivals on this podcast because we're quite fair-minded about it.
We are. We're known for it.
Wall Talk, which you've been a guest on.
I have, enjoyed it with Paul Jiggins, yeah.
And Jiggo, he'll be missed on that, and it's a shame that it's taken them quite some time to find a replacement. They've had some terrific guests on there.
It's difficult. I think it's a great format, and I like it that the club do it. You do need to tread a careful line between humour and being serious. That you have to have the two. The two have to go. I mean, whether we achieve it, I don't know. Listeners have to tell me. I don't know, but you need to deliver. You have to have something to say, but you've also got to be. You can't be too somber or too serious about things. So it's an interesting choice. Stepping in some big shoes. Paul Jiggins was a real character, and sadly, no longer with us. And I know that he loved to be involved in that show. I think it's a good podcast, and they've got just looking at the Wall Talk page on the Millwall app here. They've had 90,000 plus downloads, which is a pretty good performance, listeners. And I wish them well. I hope it goes from strength to strength.
Yeah, definitely.
There we are. Well done, Byron Webster. Well done, Wall Talk, and well done, Neil Fissler, for joining me today. Hope you've enjoyed this edition of Something for the Weekend. Fingers crossed for tomorrow. Now, what's your score prediction, mate, for tomorrow?
Oh, Christ almighty, you're going to drop me in it now, aren't you?
Yeah, I've got to.
I'm going to hope that we sneak a 1-0.
Yeah, I fancy us to win it tomorrow. I think everyone's got to liven their act up. Gary, Rowett, and the squad, the players, lead players. I'll go for a win. I'm going to go for a 2-0 win for Millwall. Fingers crossed for tomorrow, listeners. Until the next show next week from Neil and I, it's Arrivederci Millwall. Bye for now.
You have been listening to Achtung Millwall. Please do leave us a review at Apple Podcasts. Danke schon. Up the lines.